For our mindset piece, which I love this topic here, we're going to talk about the 11 mindset traits of successful entrepreneurs and things we can do to kind of emulate those traits and take them into our own lives.
It's true. I mean, the more, you study and you research great entrepreneurs like an Elon Musk, like a Patrick Bet-David, I mean, these guys have a lot of similarities. Sure, they have some differences, but there are similarities in terms of certain mindsets and traits, values, principles that they live by that you can incorporate into your business, into your life. The 11 mindset traits of successful entrepreneurs. The first trait they give us is positive attitude. Positive attitude.
Yeah, I think that's the key to everything. And what's interesting about the attitude, there's an old quote that we had to memorize. It was a full poem that we had to memorize. I remember I was a sophomore in high school, and this teacher was the biggest badass football coach, just kind of a dick. Like, he was really scary. Turned out to be, I probably learned more from him than anyone, which was awesome. But the very first day of class, there's a poem on our desk, and it says, the poem starts, I believe it's the very beginning. It says, I believe the single most significant decision I can make on a day-to-day basis is my choice of attitude. And it goes on to talk about why, but the key word right there is choice, right? Your attitude is a choice. It's like, is it Zig Ziglar that has the quote, people often say that motivation doesn't last. Well, neither does taking a shower. So why they recommend you do it daily. And I think these successful entrepreneurs are so good and have such a routine of every single day they wake up, and that whether it's affirmations, whether it's getting right to working out, they do what they have to do to start that day with a positive attitude. But it is a choice. We all wake up and we get to decide if we want to have a positive attitude or a negative attitude.
And it's this idea that you can control things, right?
Yes.
It's not just, the world decided my, attitude if I was going to be happy or sad today. And like that's what the world's all about. Everybody on the media, and it's you have no control, and it's, let me feel bad and let's be victims. And that's not the road to success. If you want to be successful in any aspect of life, you can control your attitude and how you react to difficult times. Second trait it talked about was openness. Openness to listen to ideas. Openness to find or think a different way. Openness to finding solutions. And I would say openness to just believing that something can be fixed. And if you have, again, a negative attitude and a pessimistic mindset that everything's going to fail, then it's pretty tough to be open to succeeding and creating something.
Absolutely. And then the next one here is curiosity of a child. And I think that,
I love that.
Is so important because that's what gives us it. When I read that, my mind immediately went to Flick from A Bug's Life. Yeah. And all these new inventions, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. He was curious. He had the curiosity of a child, and he had that imagination. And I think sometimes that imagination is what creates these dreams for us, and these dreams are what we can then put into action and build these businesses and have employees and stimulate economies. But it all starts with that curiosity, and I think sometimes we forget about that.
It's that curiosity of wanting to explore and do things. And you have kids, you got Jack running around, and he's super curious, and he wants to learn things, and he wants to do things, and he's not afraid to fail. And it's that type of trait and attitude that leads to success as an entrepreneur, because you're curious, you want to know, you want to learn. And the problem is, as we get older, a lot of the times we become less curious. So it's something you need to be very aware of. If you want to be curious, well, how does that work? Well, how does coding work? How does software work? How does sales work? How does marketing work? Why is this guy so good at that? Why is this gal such an amazing entrepreneur? What is it they're doing? And that curiosity leads to a lot of success in asking the right questions too. Next, we've got be persuasive. And this is another one of those skills. How have you learned over time to be persuasive?
It just comes down to, in my opinion, understanding people, right? Understanding psychology, but why they do what they do, how they act, why they're acting that specific way. Persuasion, in my opinion, comes down way more to not what I'm saying, but how I'm understanding the human being that I'm needing to persuade. And sometimes I think that comes off as a bad thing if you're persuasive and whatnot, but I think it can be a very, very powerful tool if you know how to use that as a powerful tool. Like for employees, I understand that I have to be persuasive in different ways for different employees because of how they think and how they act. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, persuasion is needed in all aspects of life. You know, you had to learn to be persuasive to get your wife or your husband to marry you, right? You have to be persuasive to get your kids to, you know, do the dishes, do the latest task. You have to be persuasive to be able to listen to a client, their problem, and let them know you've got the solution for them. And so it's this life skill that's going to help you in all aspects of life. And you think about some of the best entrepreneurs out there. You think of Steve Jobs up there in the Apple Theater telling and presenting the new iPhone, and how persuasive he was at making those presentations and letting us know, wow, this is going to change your life and be so impactful in everything you do in all areas of communication and creation. And that's what you have to be if you want to succeed as an entrepreneur. You have to be persuasive, and it's a skill that you need to, the cool thing you can learn about there's a book about all of these.
Yeah, I think there's a fine line between being persuasive and manipulative. And I think the difference there is if you're being persuasive, you're doing it for the greater good. Right, versus manipulative. Oftentimes you're doing that for your own selfish benefit. And I think sometimes people misunderstand persuasion and manipulation. And so I think persuasion is a very, very good skill. Manipulation, you kind of need to be careful with that.
Well, in manipulation, usually you can kind of smell it. It's, you might be on the phone with a salesperson or meeting with them, and you can tell if they have commission breath because all they're caring about is them, their features, whatever, instead of asking you the right questions and listening and really trying to solve whatever problem you're going through. And so that's always a key. And it's the same thing clearly in relationships. If you're in this relationship only for you, then that relationship's probably not going to work out. But if your relationship is, how can I help my spouse or partner succeed and get what they want, boy, that relationship will go up significantly. And you start thinking of the things that you can do for them, and it makes all the difference in the world, and also make you a lot more happier. Creative is another one. I always say there's two types of people in this world. There's consumers and there's creators, and I want my kids to be creators, not consumers.
Absolutely. I think that's a very important one there. And sometimes you have to work a little bit harder. Certain entrepreneurs, they don't have that natural creative aspect, and it's something you have to work on, but it's a skill. Self-motivated. That's another one that I think that comes down to making that decision to be motivated. I mean, Leo, you talk about this a lot. What is different for you right now versus 10 years ago? I would say you're way more self-motivated today than you were 10 years ago. Why?
No question about it. It's not something that just changes overnight, but it starts with asking yourself, like, the number one question I try to get my kids to answer is, who do you want to be? And if you can answer that one question, then the rest of it becomes a little easier, because now you know, oh, well, I see myself, I want to become a really successful entrepreneur. I see myself as a great father and an amazing husband, as somebody who, makes products and services to make life easier for business owners or whoever you want to serve. And when you have that mission, that why of who you want to become, well, now it's easy. I wake up, let's get to it. I got to take care of my fitness. I'm this. This is who I am. This is my identity. I'm a successful entrepreneur. I'm a fit human being. I make people's lives better. I serve them at the highest level. I'm going to help my kids chase big dreams. I'm going to support my wife in everything, be the best husband I can be. And when you have these well-defined things, that's why, who I was 10 years ago, I started to create that vision of who I wanted to become. And now you have so much purpose when you wake up. And I will say this, everybody that's on the fence about having kids, there's nothing that will give you more purpose and drive and motivation than waking up knowing, oh my gosh, I got to take care of this kid. I got to bring them the best life possible. And so I feel like those are important things. But that's the question. Who do you want to be?
Exactly. And people need to understand that very, very motivated individuals, very, very self-motivated individuals still get tired. They still get hungry. They still get sore. They still get uncomfortable in the cold showers. They're no different than you. Their why just has more meaning than your why to them as individuals. And I think that's what it comes down to. And as human beings, we don't do anything without understanding why, right? I wouldn't just brush my teeth to brush my teeth. I brush my teeth because I know what happens if I don't brush my teeth. It's the exact same thing. So if you don't have any purpose If you haven't clearly defined your why, I don't care if you're a mailman, a CPA, a school teacher, if you don't understand your why, you will never be self-motivated. And understanding your why is not just for business owners, it's for everyone. Yeah. But that's what it takes to be self-motivated.
Exactly right. So define your why. And then another trait of successful entrepreneurs, they are resilient and they are tenacious. And that means they know that adversity is coming. And the higher you get up in business, like the more problems generally you're going to see and that you're going to need to solve, or have a team, someone on your team who helps solve different problems. And so you understand that adversity is right around the corner. You know, you're going to get a 1-star review that you don't necessarily deserve, or maybe you do deserve it, and you have to find a way to move forward and try and fix that problem. Maybe there's a system process error. Maybe there's, someone on your team you need to sit down with and find out what's going on in their life to get them back on track. But great entrepreneurs and great people are resilient in the face of adversity and setbacks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And let's see, which one are we on?
Taking ownership of everything.
Taking ownership.
It's kind of that control what you can control principle that we live by here.
Oh, exactly. And kind of like you said with getting a negative review, it's taking ownership of that review and deciding, what can I control? What can I do about this? Let's respond. Let's do our best to serve the client, and the rest is history. Control what you can control and own your actions. That's what it comes down to.
Exactly right. And then you're receptive to new ideas and criticisms. Anytime you have a leader or somebody who doesn't listen to their team, who are in the trenches and can point out issues and obstacles and things that they're running into, that's a big mistake. You have to be able to listen. You have to be able to ask the right questions. And then it's important to understand, too, it's great to get people that are better than you are at certain things on your payroll, in your business, on your team, because now the odds of success just go up that much more. And you're also receptive to criticism, because you know that this is a journey and that you've got a lot of weaknesses that you need to improve upon, and you don't take them personally, but how can you get better? And I think people who are really at peace with themselves are just constantly, how can I get better? How can I get better? How can I learn new skills? How can I get better results and better output for everybody around me? And they understand that they've got limitations and issues, and they want to be honest about them.
Oh, yeah. And if you're the type of person that openly can admit you do not take criticism well, it's time to go do some homework. I kind of did a small training. Jada did a great training on it as well. Understanding how to receive criticism will literally make or break you as a business professional. And everyone kind of struggles with different aspects of it. For me, Leo, the most important thing when I'm being criticized is I need to sit back. I need to listen with the intent to understand. Right. Sometimes I get so caught up in, okay, what are they saying? And I start to formulate my response, and I miss key points of what they're trying to criticize. Criticize is a great way for you to learn and grow as a professional, but you need to truly sit back, listen with intent to understand, not to respond. And once you understand the criticism, at that point, make an educated decision. Do I want to make a change? Do I not want to make a change? But do it with a level head. And you'd be shocked how many times even employees that you think don't even know how to do their job can offer some criticism that can genuinely change you and make you a better professional.
Oh, yeah. And the criticism can come from the bottom up all the time, because they'll see your weaknesses. Just like when you're a parent and your kids start to see, well, wait a second, Dad, you said don't do this, and then you're doing it. Wait a second, what are you doing, Dad? And so, no one will point out your shortcomings better than your kids and your team, your employees. And so it's always good to be open and honest about those, and of course do what you say you're going to do. And successful entrepreneurs, another trait they have is they're very passionate. They're passionate about getting a result. They're passionate about succeeding. They're passionate about helping others. They're passionate about getting better every day in all aspects of entrepreneurship, their life, with their family. And so if you're not passionate, in fact, it reminds me of this old quote. There's this quote where the ancient Greeks were like, when somebody died, the first question they asked was, did that person live passionately? Did they really go after things, or were they just kind of half-assing things?
That's interesting. Yeah, and then the last one there is empathy. And I think oftentimes this is just people skip over it. They get so consumed by the bottom line and oftentimes forget that you're working with actual people. You're working with someone's child. You're working with someone's father, someone's mother, someone's grandfather, whatever that may be. And sometimes you need to step back and get in their shoes. and really think like the consumer and genuinely feel for them. And that's something, what's interesting as we're going through these, Leo, when we sat down as we were starting this company, it was kind of we made it our motto for the year. But for me, that's kind of been the motto for my life. It's something that I want to live by day in, day out. And it's I will, followed by do what I say I'm going to do, AKA accountability. I will listen with the intent to understand, AKA I'm going to receive feedback and criticism. I will love my lead or my client like my mother, which is empathy. And then the last one there is become an expert. And so I think that's the key right there. And it's not just as a business professional, it's as a father, it's as a brother, it's as a mother. If you can do those 4 things, you will succeed. Plain and simple.
And it makes it so much easier when somebody is you're dealing with someone who's having a bad day, they're jumping all over you. And if you just step back and, hey, I need to treat this person just like they are family, listen and see if we can find some solutions. And I'd say a very small percentage of the time, maybe 5% of the time, some people, we can't help everybody. Some people are literally, not in a position psychologically maybe where they can be helped, but 95% are. And 95% want to succeed. They want to win. They have good intentions. And so if you can find a solution there and step back and not respond emotionally, but respond with empathetically, how, if I were in your shoes, boy, I'd probably feel the same way, and validate the way they're feeling, agree with them in some sense, and then how can we move forward? How can we make this right? And if you'll come that way, 95% of people will meet you in the middle and you can find a resolution. And so I'm excited to go reach out to that 1-star review today and see what we can do to connect with him.
Amen.